Welcome to ProKitchen Online Video Tutorial Series, version 11. This video is part of the Native Mac Interface series for Mac users only. This tutorial is an instructional overview of the default settings within the Native Mac Interface. Default settings is the first step in getting started with your ProKitchen software program, as these are your personal preferences for the program that are seldom revisited or changed. You can find the default settings by selecting the Settings category above the toolbar, or by right-clicking anywhere on the grid for the Quick Access menu. Left-click to select and open the Default Settings dialog box. Once open, you'll see the Application Settings page and several tabs on the left. Each tab opens a different page that needs to be addressed prior to selecting OK at the bottom. Begin by setting the design path. ProKitchen Online saves designs both to the cloud and locally to your computer. The design path dictates where your locally saved designs will be stored on your computer. Before you can set the design path, you must first go to your computer's documents and create a new folder specifically for your ProKitchen designs. When you're ready to set the design path, left-click the Select button to the right. Select the Documents folder to find the folder you just created for your designs. Select to highlight the folder, then select the Choose button at the bottom right to autofill the design path. Below the design path is the option to display the design path or not. The next option down is Autosave. This allows you to set the intervals between saves. The recommended autosave intervals are between 5 and 15 minutes. Auto Backup creates an auto backup design file at specified intervals, with the recommended time being between 30 and 40 minutes. It's important to note here that backup files take up space on your computer, so the shorter the intervals, the more files created. The Session Auto Logoff Time allows you to set an auto logoff time if you prefer, and gives you 7 different options to choose from. Application allows you to choose the language and the 3D mode that the program will use, with 3D Edge being the most up-to-date and the highest resolution option. You can enable or disable the 3D Live Viewer here. However, these are your default settings, and there are other options within your interface to turn your 3D Live Viewer on or off. The final section in the application settings is the Logo section. This is where you'll import the image for your logo that will appear on your reports in 3D images. Left-click Select, then browse your computer for the image you wish to import. Keep in mind there's a 360 pixel limit on logo images, and that only JPEG and PNG images can be used. Select the Position drop-down to choose the location your logo will appear on the page. The next tab in the left panel is Appearance. The correct Native Mac Interface setting for Appearance is Classic, while the dialog box setting should be set to Standard. These settings are automatically set as the ProKitchen program automatically detects the device you're using. The Info Panel setting has 2 options, 3D or the standard 2-dimensional image. For the best experience within ProKitchen software, it's recommended to choose the 3D option. Set your scroller to the mode you'll be using the most often. It's recommended that a left-right click mouse with a rollerball is the best way to navigate the software. In Size settings, you can choose your computer settings for the font size, or any of the 4 options available. Use the preview panel below to view the example of that setting. You have the same options for the toolbar icons. Please be aware that your interface is adjusted to accommodate these settings. If the fonts and icons are larger, then your workspace will be smaller to accommodate. You can enable high DPI icons as well. In the handle settings, you can choose to enable or disable wall handles, cabinet handles, display handles for cabinet rotation, or wall lead handles. You can also modify the colors and set the style of the handles. Dialog settings allow you to keep your dialog positions and save them on exit. meaning your dialog boxes will open in the same location consistently. Selecting Reset restores the dialog boxes to program default. In other settings, you have the option to enable or disable your catalog tooltip or your advanced catalog selector. Helpful tools that appear when selecting an item from the catalog. With these tools, you can modify the item, then set the placement using the embedded positioning tools. The semi-transparent plan and elevation selection enables a transparent effect on a selected item. The next tab in the left panel is Network Settings. This is an old legacy parameter and will be removed in the version 12 update. The Units tab indicates the unit of measurement being used in the design. You can change this setting in Design Settings for specific designs if necessary, as design settings will override the default settings without changing them. The Construction tab will open 4 sub-tabs: Walls, Cabinets, Countertop, and Other. The wall settings allow you to set the wall thickness with the industry standard being 4.5. Use the arrows to adjust or highlight and type. The wall zone is your placement zone. The default is set to 30 inches to allow for a 24-inch base, then 6 inches of space to give room for automatic dimensions that don't display over the base cabinets. Set your wall height to the wall height you use most often. This setting can be overridden in Design Settings or in the attributes on individual walls as well. Wall items alignment determines where your wall items will be placed on the wall. Top alignment refers to how far you want the top of your item to be placed from the ceiling, while bottom alignment refers to how far from the floor you want the bottom of the item to be placed. You can choose to have the floor following the walls or render as a rectangular platform. The Cabinets tab opens the settings for the ProKitchen generic cabinet catalog. You can modify if you prefer without affecting your manufacturer's catalogs, or you must return to default settings to make further adjustments, as this is the only area to do so. The Countertop settings allows you to customize your countertop settings to the settings most used by you or your design staff, as well as customizing your backsplash preferences. In the Other Settings tab, one of the options you'll find are your nomenclature options. You can set your nomenclature position simply by selecting the option from the drop-down. Another option is to set the auto offset for hoods. Here you can set the distance at which you prefer your hoods to be placed from the cabinets. When your collision detection is turned on and the hood is placed at a different distance than your auto offset settings, you'll get a notification letting you know that your auto offset is different than the placement. Left-click the Molding tab to enable and select your one-click molding settings to be saved as default. Just as the title suggests, this feature applies top molding, under cabinet molding, and toe kick in one click. Left-click to enable, select the drop-down to find your catalog, then select the product. Continue the process until all your moldings are selected. The one-click option is also available for molding lighting. Select your catalog, the product, then adjust the intensity for the specific light. The Textures tab is where you can set preferred default textures for the design elements, such as countertop, backsplash, wall covering, flooring, and ceiling. If you don't modify here or in Design Settings, then the program defaults you see here will apply. Left-click the Select button to the right of each texture field to open the Textures catalog. You can open and browse the folders, or type the texture name, keyword, or texture number in the search field above and select Search. A preview of the texture will appear in the right panel when selected. If a pattern is detected, the Rotate button is activated. You can also add the texture to your Favorites panel for quick access in the future. Click OK to save your texture to that specific element. The next tab on the left is Customer Report. This is where you set the parameters for your manufacturer catalogs. Refer to your manufacturer rep for the information needed to set these parameters, as these are manufacturer-specific settings. The final tab in the left panel is Email Settings. These settings determine how ProKitchen sends email. You can choose to use the ProKitchen SMTP server, give ProKitchen permission to use your SMTP server, or give ProKitchen permission to use your Outlook Express. You also have the option to attach your DSG file. The DSG file is the ProKitchen design file and can only be opened with ProKitchen software. If your email recipient does not have ProKitchen software, they will not be able to open the file. You can also hide the Email Attachment Format Selection dialog. Once you've addressed each tab and are finished making changes, select OK at the bottom right. If you've made changes that require a program restart, you'll be prompted to do so. When your ProKitchen program reopens, it will now be suited to your preferences. Thank you for visiting ProKitchen University. Be sure to visit us at prokitchensoftware.com.